Jose Labarca, Political Affairs Officer with the Organization of American States here in Washington, D.C. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
For having me.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Joel, explain to us the importance of Chile to China first.
Okay, the importance for Chile to China is, one, it gives China access to the markets in Bolivia, Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. Also access to the ports in Chile, northern ports. Also, it allows China to use Santiago as the banking center for their trade, for their future trade for Latin America.
And we see that the other way around. You mentioned finance and banking. Obviously, a lot of it comes in the form of loans. It comes in the forms of investment, and of course, the possibility of significant future investment as well, I'm assuming.
Correct. Like you said, it works both ways. It allows Latin American countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Bolivia, and Peru as well, to do business with China through the Chilean banks. I believe that China is doing a $180 million investment into the Chilean financial sector. So that's a benefit for China as well as for Chile and the other Latin American countries. So it's a two-way street there.
This currency swap between the two countries, China and Chile, that I've been hearing about. Explain the significance of that.
Well, it would allow the Chilean banking sector, which has been known in Latin America to be a very solid and politically neutral and very strong connections with the New York financial sector. So it'll allow China to not be influenced. It'll allow Chinese investment to have a secure base for their transferring of funds to and from Chile and Latin America.
One of the criticisms of that relationship is a lot of people know, of course, the copper in Chile, and that was a big part of the exports to China. And in the most recent sort of economic downturn in Latin America, they were hurt by that. Is this part of the efforts to sort of diversify that relationship a little bit more so it's not so centric?
Yes, I believe so. It's a way for China also to get their foot in the door in Latin America. Not necessarily, as you know, Chile's copper production has been pretty steady, and China is one of the few countries that buys Chile's copper production 2 or 3 years ahead. So that creates a lot of stability for Chile and its exports to China. Chile's exports, non-perishable goods, have doubled within the last 3 years. Chile was the first country in Latin America to sign a bilateral trade agreement. So that's another big plus for China, as well as diversifying China's interest in Latin America, Brazil, its petroleum, as well as with Venezuela as well.
I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this. In terms of China and Latin America, I mean, this relationship didn't start yesterday. It's grown over the past decade. It's been significant.
Yes.
Where do you see it going to, say, 5 years from now or 10 years from now? I know we have a lot of talk on big deals, but it's hard for, I think, the average viewer to envision what does this look like in 10 years? Well,
even though the Chinese economy is slowing down a little bit, you have the rural population in China moving to the cities. That means there's going to be more exports for Chile and Latin America for non-perishable goods. Chile exports cherries, plums, and grapes to China. So for Chile, it's a win situation in terms of non-perishable goods and things like that. I think that that the economic situation for Latin America, it'll open up new markets for Latin American countries, especially Chile, as well as Argentina and Brazil. But I think it's a plus for everybody. Chinese and Chilean relations have started in 2005 when they first signed their bilateral trade agreement. I think it's just, it's going to increase, and I think it'll be beneficial for China.
One thing I did not hear from you that we've heard from other officials and experts with respect to, say, Brazil and other countries is there's been a lot of infrastructure deals. We're not hearing so much of that with Chile. Do they not need it?
Yeah. Well, yes, Chile does need infrastructure, and that's something that Chile right now is working on improving. And I think that's where China can play a very important role in helping Chile diversify its infrastructure, especially railway. Chile's a very long country, has a great railroad system, but as well as road. And so, but Chile can need improvement in the infrastructure. And what's interesting here is that the Chilean ports in the north will be used as the portals to the bioceanic corridor that's being planned right now with Peru, Bolivia, and Brazil. So Chile will be the passageway from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean and open up all those markets for Chinese goods.
There's been a lot of talk about reducing tariffs, and there's been a lot of discussion about perhaps even a bigger or grander sort of bilateral trade deal, not just with Chile, but with other countries in Latin America. I mean, essentially, this is a precursor to potentially that as well.
Correct, and that's where you see the Pacific Trade Alliance with Peru, Colombia, Chile, and Mexico playing a big role in that. And I think those countries are all looking towards China and Asia, and Asian countries as well, to diversify and expand their economic interest in Asia. And that, I think, is a positive sign for everybody. And it just shows you also Chinese investment in Latin America has grown double within the last 5 to 6 years. And so that's a plus, and it shows you the power of Chinese economy in Latin America.